Okay, so today we're going to be changing out the motor on a Cyma M14. I've already taken the body off. If you don't know how to do that, it's pretty simple. Just gotta pull off the little trigger guard here, and then unplug this wire out of the stock. I've done it in a lot of other videos if you want to see those and figure out how to do that. So first we're going to take the old motor off. Have a tiny spring here. Just want to pull that off. Make sure you don't lose it because it can fly out. We got a screw here and here. Start with the top one, doesn't really matter which one you start with. Then move to the bottom. And we're just going to pull it off like that. And on the other side, we've got a screw here and here. And we're just going to unscrew those. Okay. That's one. Here's the other. And I'll flip it back over. It's just a little bit easier to work on this side. And I'm going to pull this off. It just splits in two. And there we go, a little bit better lighting. I'm going to pull this little bit off. And there's a disc that'll fall out. Make sure you remember that is right here. And you pull the motor out. Need to keep this spring. And now the motor's out, we're going to have to get the pinion gear off because we need these two bearings to put the new one on. This is a good pinion gear because it has a set screw holding it in. The motor I ordered doesn't have a set screw, so you have to use a pinion gear puller. It's pressed on. Kind of sucks. I don't actually have the right sized Allen key or whatever for this, so I'm gonna cut back after I figure out how to fix that. Okay, so got the pinion gear off. I couldn't find a matching Allen wrench, and I figured out why. Because I thought I had an Allen wrench that fit it. It was this really thin little sucker here. And I was using it, and it snapped. Snapped the little set screw because they loaded up with Loctite, thread lock or whatever. So I just grabbed the pinion puller, which we'll be using here in a second, and just pulled the thing off. And I got the bearings that we needed out. Oh, also, if you couldn't tell, I went ahead and snipped these. We're going to be adding little connectors to them, so they'll just slide right onto the new connectors on our new motor. Okay, so I've put our new motor into the puller. We're going to pull the gear off so we can take off this tower, which won't fit in this little thing they've made here. We'll be adding the bearings onto the shaft, then pressing the pinion back on. The motor I've got to put in this is a Lonex Titan Supreme. It's like A1 Supreme, whatever. So, just gotta make sure that's all nice and lined up on the center. Which it's not quite. There we go. Let's see if I can, there we go. And then, we're just gonna have to tighten it down until it comes out. I finally got it off using the puller. It took me, I don't know, 3 hours, because I kept trying to find different ways. I tried heating up the pinion gear and using some some loosening oil or whatnot. And I just was afraid I was actually going to break this because of how hard I had to push to get the little pinion gear off. But put it in a vise and just cranked as hard as I could, so I gave up, and it popped off. So problem solved. Next we're going to be putting the two little bearings that we got off the original motor onto this shaft so we can stick it into the I guess motor mount. Then want to make sure this is the right size and everything. By the way guys, for this you're going to be using a long type motor. Don't make the same mistake that I did and get a short type or medium, because I accidentally bought the wrong kind at first and had to ship it back and wait forever to do this. Alright, so that fits in there nice and good. Then we're going to press this horrible pinion back on. So I believe we need these two things, little adapters that came with the pinion gear puller, and we'll be sticking one onto the top screw thing and then one onto the bottom, which I have out right now. There we go. Alright. So the difficult part is, of course, getting the motor in here, because it's, my hands are all slippery from the oil I used to get the thing off, and it's got really strong magnets and everything, but we can just get it stuck between these two braces, and move this out of the way, and put the new pinion gear, well, the same pinion gear, back, and press it back on. Okay, so got the pinion gear on, nice and nice tight there, worked out pretty well. Pretty difficult to get on strength-wise, but not that bad really. If I could get it, anyone can. Got the connectors on. Now we're gonna put the motor into the motor cage. We'll be using the spring off of the original motor because the one that came with the long motor here is too long. So first, I'm going to take this little thing. This is where you adjust the motor height. Slide that into the little section it's got there, a little crack there. And going to be putting this spring on there. It doesn't matter if you put it on like wider end in front or wider end in the back. I put it in the back, just gives a bit more room. It really doesn't matter, so just preference. Alright, gotta pull the bearings a bit forward so you can get it in there right. Then going to push it on there. You know what, this came off. It really doesn't matter the order you do it in, as long as you have the spring on here before you do it, because that way you can actually put it together with the spring on there. Gonna want to make sure the positive is facing out like this direction, because this is where the positive wire goes, and it should have a red terminal there, whichever motor you get, so that's the way you'll know. And so this half of the motor cage is the half that faces away from us at the moment. So I'll be placing it in here with the positive facing up. That way it's in the right place for the wire. Oh boy, it's tough to get this in there. Alright, well shoot, that's in the wrong one. You're going to want it in the farthest back one and the farthest forward one. I'll just skip to where I've got it done. There we go, didn't take that much longer. There we go. And now we're placing that first bit back in because it fell out. It really, again, doesn't really matter the order you do it in, just as long as you get all the parts in there. Whenever you do this, you're going to want to make sure it's seated up against the rim here. Then you're going to be placing this metal disc back in, and you're going to pull the motor down a bit, then slide it in behind the motor, between the little piece you just put in. Next, all you got to do is place the other half on so you can close it up, and then, well, close it up. And to do that, very simple, just take the two smaller screws and tighten the back together. Make sure I've got the, yeah, you want to tighten it into the non-threaded end. Whoops, there's these tiny washers I forgot. Put it in the non-threaded end so it actually pulls down and pushes them together, or pulls them together. Same thing again, but on the other side of the adjustment. And it's in there nice and tight, and as you can see, this metal piece is tight to the rim all the way around. If not, it'll kind of push itself apart, which isn't a major deal. It's nice not to have that happen. So we're going to place this into the open part of the gearbox down here. Do that. It might be pulling apart at this end, so you want to press it together. Then push it into the gearbox until all the holes line up. Then simply put the last 2 screws in. Oops, the hole didn't line up yet. There we go. Tighten this one down. Look at this other one. There we go. All we have left to do, I'm going to clear this out. All we have left to do is push these little connectors on to the motor. And I'm going to cut when I have that done. It's nothing difficult. Okay, so pretty simple. Just push this one on, push this one on, made sure there's the right one. This one's negative, this one's positive. There's a big piece of shrink wrap that was kind of really pulling on the wires the way I had it, so I went ahead and cut that back to here. And it looks pretty good. I think I'm ready to test it. I almost forgot something important. It's the very first step. The spring we took off. The trigger wouldn't have gone back the right way if I didn't put this back on. So it's pretty simple, really. You just hook it on there like so. I say it's simple. Watch me struggle, like so. Then hook it on to this other hook here. So you hook it there, then on there, and then the trigger should work. All good. Alright, time for the first test. That's not good. All I had to do was completely disassemble the gun down to the gearbox and re-grease everything and just redo the gears, just go through everything all over again. And now it works. Nice and snappy. Very happy with it. Thanks for watching.